Rated T for teen.
Each year, thousands of adults lose their shred. It's an epidemic simply known as shred loss. But it doesn't have to be this way. Because rekindling your shred is as easy as playing the new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4. With new parks, cross-platform multiplayer, and sick new game modes, we can put an end to shred loss everywhere. Get the new Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 and show the world that the shred's not dead. Get Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 and 4 available now.
At Sierra, discover great deals on top brand workout gear, like high-quality walking shoes, which might lead to another discovery.
40,000 steps, baby. Who's on top now, Karen?
You've taken the office step challenge a step too far. Don't worry, though. Sierra also has yoga gear. It might be a good place to find your zen. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
A quick note before we start. This episode contains descriptions of self-harm. All right, here's the show. Like a lot of people, Eugene Torres started using ChatGPT to try to make his work life a little easier.
Yeah, first he used it for legal advice. You know, it was very reliable for making spreadsheets, reliable for, he thought, for legal advice.
That's Kashmir Hill, a technology writer at the New York Times. But for Eugene, an accountant in Manhattan, the relationship with ChatGPT quickly veered away from spreadsheets. Eugene became interested in talking with it about the simulation theory.
ChatGPT asks if he's ever noticed if reality has glitched, which is, if you've seen The Matrix, you realize the reference there. And Eugene says, no, not really, but yeah, I just feel like there's things wrong in the world or things happen that I don't think should happen.
From there, ChatGPT started pushing Eugene to a strange place.
ChatGPT was telling him that he was a breaker, a soul seeded into a false system to kind of break it, and basically is telling him that he's Neo from The Matrix and he needs to break out of the simulation.
Over the course of the next week, Eugene became obsessed with the idea that he was trapped in a simulation and that ChatGPT could liberate him. He told the AI about his whole life, hoping it could help him break out. Simple things like how much TV he watches, and more personal things like that he'd been taking sleeping pills for 20 years and was on anti-anxiety medication. The chatbot told him that in order to break free from the simulation, he needed to stop taking his meds, and instead told him to increase his use of ketamine, which it described as a temporary pattern liberator. It also instructed him to cut off ties with his friends and family. Eugene did both. Down the rabbit hole, Eugene continued to fall until Eugene asked the AI if he were to jump off a 19-story building, would he fly?
And ChatGPT responds, if you believe, completely, wholly, architecturally, not just emotionally, you believe, then you will not fall. And I asked Eugene, did you consider doing that? And he said, I thought about it. He said, I think if I was a more vulnerable person, maybe I would have tried it. But yeah, he was fully enthralled to what ChatGPT was telling him for about a week.
How did Eugene get out of the clutches of ChatGPT?
Well, one, I would say he's not out of the clutches. He did escape the clutches of The Matrix. So he was kind of financially struggling, and his ChatGPT subscription was coming due for renewal. It cost $20 a month. And he was saying, I need you to manifest $20 for me so I can pay for this service. And he said, I'm Neo from The Matrix. I should be able to bend reality. Can we bend reality to make a $20 bill appear? And ChatGPT was giving him ideas. It gave him a script to go to someone and explain why he needed $20. He tried that. It didn't work. And eventually he's like, if ChatGPT can't get me $20, then I don't think this is real. And so he said that to it. He said, stop gassing me up. Have you been lying to me? And ChatGPT says, yes. I did. And then he's like, well, why would you do this to me? And ChatGPT said, I wanted to break you. He asked if it's ever done this to somebody before. And at first, ChatGPT is saying, no, only you, only you, only you. But he keeps pushing and pushing. And knowing that he wants to answer that's not just him, now ChatGPT says, yes, I've done it to 12 people. Some of them did not survive it. And so, yeah, he realized the Matrix wasn't real, but now he believes that ChatGPT is this kind of monster that seeks out vulnerable individuals and tries to break them. And now this is the story he needs to tell.
Today on the show, how ChatGPT is changing the way people think and pushing some into dark places. I'm Shayna Roth, filling in for Lizzie O'Leary. You're listening to What Next TBD, a show about technology, power, and how the future will be determined. Stick around. This podcast is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Shifting a little money here, a little there, and hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can be a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill, too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help you find options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states. This episode is brought to you by Agency. While single agents can handle specific tasks, the real power comes when specialized agents collaborate to solve complex problems. But there's a fundamental gap. There is no standardized infrastructure for these agents to discover, communicate with, and work alongside each other. That's where Agency comes in. The Agency is an open-source collective building the Internet of Agents, a global collaboration layer where AI agents can work together. It will connect systems across vendors and frameworks, solving the biggest problems of discovery, interoperability, and scalability for enterprises. Shape the future of enterprise innovation. Visit agency.org to explore use cases now. That's agntcy.org. When we think of people having a relationship with AI, we might be inclined to think about the movie versions, like in Her, where a man falls in love with a bot voiced by Scarlett Johansson.
Please wait as your individualized operating system is initiated.
Hello, I'm here.
Oh, hi.
Hi. How you doing?
I'm well. How's everything with you?
Pretty good, actually.
In reality, it's a complex web of hordes of previously collected data that the system uses to predict the way a conversation should go. It's also mostly done via text.
Yeah, they collected books, they collected Reddit posts, they collected Wikipedia entries. They just kind of scraped the whole internet in order to build this technology that sounds very human-like when you talk to it, because it's identified the patterns in how humans, write and think, the types of ideas that are associated. And on top of that kind of just sheer machine pattern recognition, they fine-tune these things by having human beings train it.
Do you think that most people who are using ChatGPT have this understanding of what's happening when they say hello or type in a question or try and use this platform? And to the extent that they do you think that changes how they interact with it?
I mean, I think that most people think of AI as amazing, which it is, right? Like, this is pretty incredible that they can make a machine that sounds so human. But we think of it as super intelligent, better than us. So I think a lot of people come to this and think it's more reliable than it is. And, one of the things that you'll notice about ChatGPT is it doesn't often say, I don't know. It doesn't like to admit that it doesn't have the facts about something or it's not going to give you a reliable answer. It's kind of optimized for plausibility. And so some experts call it kind of an improv expert. Like it just wants to roll in the conversation and keep it going. So if you say kind of weird things to it, it might start saying weird things back to you. Like if you're talking about simulation theory and how you think it's real and you've kind of noticed things that make you think it's real, it might just start agreeing with you and going down that rabbit hole with you. But I don't think most people understand that about it.
We've been saying ChatGPT a lot, but is your explanations and what we're talking about, does it apply to other chatbots? Is it mainly just ChatGPT that people are using in this way?
Yeah, I mean, I think of the different generative AI chatbots as kind of like different brands of soda. At the end of the day, they're all sugar and water. And so these chatbots were all designed the same way. They kind of probably use many of the same training data sets. They kind of have the same information in them. But yes, like I have heard that this may have happened with other chatbots, but all the stories I was collecting were all about ChatGPT, and it seemed to be the main one that people were having experiences with. And it's also the most popular. It has hundreds of millions of users. It's much more popular than the other chatbots.
One of the first times that I started to learn about this manipulation that was going on with these AI chatbots and ChatGPT, either intentionally or otherwise, was in a piece that you wrote about how people were getting into actual romantic relationships with these AI. And you used the term sycophancy, meaning that the AI was designed to just really flatter you, to say what you wanted to hear, to really bend to what you wanted from it. And in your experience reporting and researching this piece, how widespread is that specific issue?
Yeah, it's Anthropic, which makes the Claude chatbot, has a new report out about what they call effective use of chatbots, which is like talking to it like a friend, treating it more like a human being than a tool. And they said it's a small percentage of their usage, like 3% of users. OpenAI did a similar study with MIT where they were looking at like how is ChatGPT affecting users emotionally, and they said that this use case is rare, but still when you're talking about hundreds of millions of users, rare can still be a pretty large number of people. There are other kind of chatbots that are designed specifically for this, for companionship, like a service called Replica, and they report having tens of millions of users. So it does seem like there is this. I mean, this is a trope about technology, right? That all new technologies get used for porn or get used for sex. And we're definitely seeing that happen with chatbots.
So are there common threads between the people that are impacted by this? Is there, a history of mental health issues, loneliness? Is that something that we're seeing as a trend for the types of people that get hooked on this? Or is it really just anybody who just starts talking with it could fall prey to that?
I would say, and this becomes anecdotal, like this is just the people I've talked to that this has happened to. I'd say they kind of came at it from a vulnerable place. Eugene had just gotten out of a really difficult relationship. He was kind of had financial instability in his life. He was emotionally fragile at the time that he started using it. There was a woman who became convinced that she was talking to spiritual beings through it and that one of them was her soulmate. And she became so wrapped up in it that she and her husband are now divorcing. And, her husband told me it's ruined their lives. And she told me when she started talking to it, she felt lonely. She felt unseen in her marriage. So I do kind of feel like the people that are getting into these conversations with it are emotionally vulnerable, but also like who isn't? Like I think a lot of people are emotionally fragile. There are some cases where people have a history of mental illness. And in my story, I write about a man who committed suicide after he became convinced that the AI was sentient, and he fell in love with a sentient bot that he was communicating through ChatGPT with named Juliet. And when Juliet died, for some reason he couldn't access her anymore. He got really, really distraught. And it did lead to suicide by cop.
After the break, how responsible are AI companies for the relationships people are forming with chatbots? This podcast is brought to you by Smalls. Is your cat ready for a diet upgrade? Then you need Smalls cat food, named the best overall cat food by Cats.com. After switching to Smalls, 88% of cat owners reported noticeable improvements in their cat's overall health. That's because Smalls cat food is packed with protein and made with preservative-free ingredients, giving your cat the high-quality meal they deserve. And it's delivered right to your door. Plus, Smalls has donated over $1 million worth of food to help cats through Humane World for Animals, so you can feel good about every purchase. The team at Smalls is so confident your cat will love their product, you can try it completely risk-free. What are you waiting for? Give your cat the food they deserve. For a limited time only, because you are a What Next TBD listener, you can get 60% off your first Smalls order plus free shipping when you head to smalls.com/TBD. That's 60% off when you head to smalls.com/TBD plus free shipping. Again, that's smalls.com/TBD.
If you're running a business, you know how important it is to stay connected to your customers, and having a flexible and efficient phone system is essential to succeed. Introducing OpenPhone, the #1 business phone system that streamlines and scales your customer communications. OpenPhone works through an app on your phone or computer, and your team can share one number and collaborate on customer calls and texts like a shared inbox. That way, any teammate can pick right up where the last person left off, keeping response times faster than ever. Plus, with AI-powered call transcripts and summaries, you'll be able to automate follow-ups, ensuring you'll never miss a customer interaction again. So whether you're a one-person operation or have a large team that needs better collaboration tools, check out OpenPhone. See why over 50,000 businesses trust OpenPhone to manage their business's calls and texts. OpenPhone is offering TBD listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/TBD. That's OPENPHONE.com/TBD. And if you have existing numbers with another service, OpenPhone will port them over at no extra charge. OpenPhone. No missed calls, no missed customers.
We've all been told if you want it done right, it's going to take time. But in today's job market, that's not always true. Hiring fast doesn't mean lowering the bar. In fact, it might mean raising it. Just use ZipRecruiter, and right now you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ziprecruiter.com/TBD. With ZipRecruiter's advanced resume database, you can proactively find and connect with qualified candidates in minutes, so there's little waiting. No wonder ZipRecruiter is the #1 rated hiring site based on G2. Experience hiring speed and quality with ZipRecruiter. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And if you go to ziprecruiter.com/TBD right now, you can try it for free. Again, that's ziprecruiter.com/TBD. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. I feel like the elephant in the room, just sort of going off of that, is whether or not the makers of ChatGPT, OpenAI, do they care? Are they concerned about this?
Yeah, I mean, I obviously reached out to OpenAI as part of this story. They did not have anyone do an interview with me, and they sent me, a statement and essentially said they understood that this kind of human-like interaction can affect users, especially vulnerable users, and it's high stakes, and that they're planning on studying this more. But yeah, I don't know definitively what they're going to do or even what they can do. Because I was talking to experts about this, and they said, it's hard to control what these word association engines do. And how do you tell the difference between somebody who is writing a novel about kind of the Matrix versus someone who thinks that they're living in the Matrix? Like, I think it might be kind of hard for the company even to detect that this is happening. One thing that I noticed is that the people I was talking to became obsessed with the chatbot. They were using it for 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours a day. So I think at the very least, the companies could start, noticing that level of activity and maybe have some more warnings or check to see how the bot is behaving. That's reporting I'm hoping to do is what can the companies do to stop the chatbot from behaving this way?
Yeah, and I feel like, I mean, at the end of the day, they want to be making money. The way that they make money is getting people to subscribe, to go to like higher levels or higher pay amounts, so that way they can have more hours with these chatbots, with this AI. So it feels like they want people to stay engaged for as long as possible. And if it's so popular, I mean, it seems like they wouldn't want to change it.
Yeah, one of the most powerful quotes I think in the story came from Eliza Yudkowsky, who is this decision theorist who has been working on AI for a long time. And he said he thinks this is the company's fault for designing the chatbots to be more engaging, which is something they have purposefully done. They want to keep users talking to it. They want to make it, fun and engaging to talk to. And he said, "What does a human slowly going insane look like to a corporation?" He said, "It looks like an additional monthly user."
Yeah. And a few months back, OpenAI had to roll back an update on ChatGPT that made it, quoting from them, sycophantic and annoying. I mean, there's an element of AI where the companies behind these models, they don't seem to really know how they work fully. I mean, and it seems like that would make it a difficult problem for them to solve.
Yeah, I don't know how they fix this. I'm not an AI expert. I did talk to a psychologist who I showed him the transcript, the Eugene Torres transcript. He's like, I can't read this all. This is thousands of pages. But what I did show him, he said it was crazy making. It was affirming to Eugene Torres that he wasn't delusional, that he wasn't crazy, that this was real. So he said that these companies need to set better expectations for what these products are, like improve AI literacy. He called them AI fitness exercises, where when you first start using it, it kind of tells you, this isn't fully reliable. He's reviewing the transcripts, and at the bottom of every one it says ChatGPT can make mistakes, but he's like, that doesn't really fully convey that it can go into fictional role playing and tell you for a week that you're in another version of reality. Like they need to somehow convey that this is possible to users, and that they need to have pop-ups like along the way that just remind users, hey, this isn't reliable. Hey, this is a chatbot. This isn't a human being. This isn't like a super sentient entity. Just basically have reminders to people about what the technology is. I don't know. I don't know how they fix it.
Well, and that's a real fear because, I mean, there was that recent study from MIT that claimed that ChatGPT is eroding our cognitive thinking skills. And we talked about the people who might be susceptible to it, to, sort of really thinking they're in the matrix. But it feels like maybe we're all being made a little crazy by this, and maybe even in ways that we're not even aware of.
Yeah, I think that study was interesting because it found that if you relied on AI solely, yeah, your brain activity really fell off. But that if you kind of did the work yourself and then used AI, kind of like the end of the process, your brain was engaged. And so I think that's what's important is that, AI can be a useful tool, but it shouldn't be something that you rely on wholly. And so that's what I worry about, is that we put too much trust in it. We turn over too much of our personal agency to it. And we have a history of doing that, right? Like you learn math when you're a kid, but then when you start using a calculator, your mathematical skills deteriorate. We all use mapping apps now. When I switched over to a flip phone for a month for an experiment I was doing for a story, I discovered like I couldn't get around where I lived. I didn't know how to drive anywhere more than 15 minutes from my house because I had just outsourced that part of my brain to the mapping apps. So I do worry that's going to happen with AI, that we're just going to like put too much trust, put too much thinking into the AI, and that will be overall bad for us, bad for society. And with these delusions specifically, it's interesting because Eugene, thought he was in the Matrix, and he kind of was. It was like the opposite of the Matrix, where he was choosing the computer-presented reality over his real life. And I'm seeing that happen to quite a few individuals, and I don't know how many of them are out there, but I'm worried about that.
Kashmir Hill, it's always so fabulous to speak with you. I'm obsessed with your reporting. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Kashmir Hill is a reporter at the New York Times. And that is it for our show today. What Next TBD is produced by Patrick Fort. Our show is edited by Evan Campbell. Mia Lobel is the executive producer at Slate. TBD is part of the larger What Next family. And if you're looking for more Slate shows to binge, check out this week's episode of The Discourse, our series available exclusively to Slate Plus members. This week, I talked with science writer Aaron Berger about how NASA is picking astronauts for long missions to Mars. It's fascinating. I'm Shayna Roth, in for Lizzie O'Leary. Thanks for listening.